work and activity. We have the night for rest. When we think about it, is that a benefit? Is having rest a benefit, activity, benefit? How do we reason? By the ships that sail the sea, bringing that which is beneficial to the mankind. These big cruise ships, sometimes taking us to exotic locations, allowing the participants to get some much needed rest and relaxation. Is that a benefit? How do we reason? By the rain that brings life to the dead earth, feeding not only us, the human beings, but all the creatures on the planet. Is this a benefit? From where does it really come from? Where does the rain really come from? How do we reason? The winds and the clouds that actually create those currents and sail those big ships, they bring commerce and trade, prosperity to people. Is this a benefit? How do we reason? We even have the winds and the clouds that bring hurricanes. Recently brought a hurricane to North Carolina, Hurricane Florence. Can hurricanes be a benefit? If people are reminded of the meeting that we all will have before our Lord, is that a benefit? How do we reason? All of this and so much more, it's a benefit, but it's only a benefit for those that reason well. That reason well. And this assigns for people that use their reasoning, your IQ. Now, how many of us know people that just don't seem to reason well? It seems like they're just not able to use good sense. Why does the alcoholic keep drinking, knowing that it's harmful to him, but he continues to drink anyway? Not using good sense. Why does the broke person, the poor person, go buy a lottery ticket with their last dollar, hoping to hit it big? It don't seem like they're reasoning well. What about that Muslim brother amongst us who prefers a girlfriend rather than a wife? Doesn't seem like he's reasoning well. So the main focus of this first part of the talk, the first part of the football, is just to see if we can get an understanding of why is it that people don't seem to reason well. Why don't people seem to be able to use good sense? So in my opinion, our religion, it offers us an insight. This is a strange phenomenon, people not reasoning well. You know? And I think our religion offers us a wonderful insight into this. It helps us to understand. So I've been reflecting on some verses in the Quran. It's actually a prayer of our father Ibrahim, a dua. And he's making this prayer, and this prayer is kind of the conclusion to an argument that he's having with his people. It helps, in my opinion, it helps us to understand why people don't reason well. So he says, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. He's pleading to Allah. He says, don't disgrace me on the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون. A day in which no one will benefit from their wealth, from their money, nor their children. إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. That the only one, the only people that will benefit on that day were those who bring to Allah a qalbin salim, a sound heart, a sound heart, a pure heart, qalbin salim, an innocent heart, a heart that more than anything else, it just really wants to do the right thing, a heart that loves decency, a heart that loves truth, a heart that wants to be in good standing before its Lord, a healthy heart, a heart that's free of disease, a Carlin Salim. Carlin Salim. You know, it's actually impossible to reason well with an impure heart. It's actually impossible to get the best out of our own intelligence with a heart that does not desire to do the right thing. It's actually impossible for us to think straight with a bad heart. There's no greater influence on our thinking than our heart. They go hand in hand, like hand in glove. Peanut butter and jelly, husband and wife, they go hand in hand. Now, when the strongest desire in the heart is to be right, is to do right, it will run weakness out of our lives. It'll chase weakness right out of our lives. It'll run it away. I am often reminded when I'm dealing with patients. There's a particular patient that I ask a question to every time that I run into this particular patient. And this particular patient is a patient who has successfully kicked the habit and they learned how to stop smoking. So I've been doing this kind of informal survey for the last 15 years. Every former smoker that I come into contact with, I ask them the same question, and I get the exact same response back every single time. And it doesn't matter if it's a woman, if it's a man, it doesn't matter. They are from America, from another country. It doesn't matter if they're white, they're black. It doesn't matter. I get the same response back every time. My question is, and I want to know this question because, believe it or not, tobacco is probably the greatest addiction that we know of on earth, the strongest addiction. It's actually harder to stop smoking cigarettes than it is to stop smoking crack cocaine. It's just that hard. It is a phenomenal, strong addiction that's very hard to break. So for the people that have broke that habit, I'm just curious. Tell me one question. How did you do it? How did you stop smoking? And I get the exact same response back every single time. They say, I decided in my heart that I didn't want to do that anymore. I made up in my mind that I didn't want to do that anymore. So it's convinced me, scientifically, proof that when the strongest desire in the heart is to do right, it will run out, it'll chase away all human weakness. All human weakness. So in that light, we have to constantly examine our hearts. We have to constantly examine our intentions, our motivations, our feelings. And we have to ask the question, are these feelings, are they consistent with a clean heart? Do we have a healthy heart? Do I have a pardon Celine? Am I feeling about things the way Allah wants me to feel about things? Am I seeing things the way Allah wants me to see things? Because in the end, when it's all said and done, there's really only one thing that matters, and that is the condition of our heart. Pardon Celine. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this comes towards the end of a hadith or saying, this last portion where he says that there lies within the body a piece of flesh. If it is sound, salihat. If it is sound, then the whole body is sound. And then if it's corrupted or if it's tainted, then the whole body is tainted. And indeed, that piece is the heart. The heart. So how do we as believers, how do we keep our hearts clean? Because it was given to us clean. We come here clean. How do we keep it clean? Well, we keep it clean just like we clean everything else. We have to bathe it every day, constantly, in the words of our Lord. We have to let our hearts marinate on the words of the Quran. And it goes without saying that we have to love the way of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because in essence he was a perfect embodiment of Allah's word of the Quran. So our take-home message, this simple message for this first part of the khutbah, we have to understand that the prerequisite for understanding, for reasoning well, for using good sense, is really purity of heart. And we can actually unleash the power of our brains, the power of our intellect, only after we have a clean heart. And believe it or not, this also holds the key to unlocking the treasures of the material world. A clean heart. So this is a reminder, and the believers always benefit from reminders. We say, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ. O Allah, let not our hearts deviate after you have guided us aright, but grant us some mercy from yourself, for you are the grantor of mercy beyond measure. Amen. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, the praise is for Allah, and forever and always the praise is always for Allah. So our work as a community is a community that's really mission to invite others to Islam. That's our work. So the dua that we read from our father Ibrahim, it comes as a conclusion to this argument that he's having with his people. And I find a lot of wisdom in the approach to how he arranged his words. These simple, basic declarations that were quite powerful, that led up to the conclusion that this really boils down to having a clean, pure heart. So if our mission is to invite others to faith, specifically to invite them to Al-Islam, I want to share some of the words that he used in his argument with his people that leads up to this point. So in the course of the dialogue, he says, have you all considered, have you thought about what you all are worshiping? Indeed, what you've been worshiping is an enemy to me, but not so the Lord of all of the worlds. the Lord of all of the world. So now he, from this point on, teaches. He starts to describe who is this Lord of all of the world, this Rabbul Alameen. So he says that it is he, Alladhi, khalaqani fahuwa yahdini, that the Lord of all the worlds is the one who created me, and then he guides me. So those of us that have come to the same conclusion as Ibrahim, those of us that are reasoning well, we come to that same conclusion, that Allah created us. I didn't create myself. Here I am, a living, breathing creature, creation. And my deductive reasoning, my deductive logic tells me that I'm a creature, I'm a creation, but I didn't create myself, so something much bigger, more powerful had to be responsible for my own creation. And not only that, the one who created me actually guides me, all in one. And Ibrahim said these words over 2,000 plus years ago. In the interim, maybe 1,000 years after, we have, I'm just reminded of some literature that I read, because we are in the Western world and we're exposed to Western literature, Western philosophy. I'm reminded of some words that were written down by one of the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, their philosophers, Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers that they hold up high. You have Socrates, you have Plato. So in his writing, Socrates, he's describing this thing called a daemon. And it's Latin for, they translated this divine something. He can't really, pinpoint it, but he knows that it's special, it's some type of divine something. And he says that it's a gift that has never left my side since I've been a child. And it only speaks to me in negatives or negative admonitions. It tells me, don't do this or don't say that. But it never forces me to follow its advice. But he grew to rely on this inner voice because he found that it never ever led him astray. So scholars of modern time, when they're interpreting these words of Socrates, they say that he's really describing his conscience, the human conscience, that inner voice, that moral guide that we have. And we have our life, our creation, our human nature, but it's actually guided by human conscience. Guided by human conscience. And we find the best example in our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad the Prophet, as one that was always guided by his conscience. How do we know? Greater than 40 years, over 40 years, a whole lifetime amongst us, having lived a life of impeccable character before any quote unquote official revelation that came down from on high. And I say official because the Quran is certainly official. But prior to the Quran coming down, he had, as well as Socrates had, as well as Ibrahim before him, as well as each and every one of us, we have that same internal guiding mechanism of the human conscience. So our Father says that the Rabbul Alameen, the one that created, the Lord of all the worlds, the one who created, it is he who guides us, and he guides us through the faculty of our human conscience. If we are a people that's inviting to faith, inviting, being a community that invites others to the faith, we have to help people to see that the best of their own human nature is their good heart and their good conscience. The best of themselves. And they should rely on the best part of their human nature, their better urges, their better conscience. And if we can invite them just to see that, we are inviting them closer and closer to Al-Islam. If they can just see their own human nature in a clearer, in a better light, in a better light. And then he goes on to say, Waladi huwa yuta'imuni wa yes, king, that this Lord of the world, the one who created me, the one who guides me, it is he who feeds me and gives me drink. When we interact with our family and our friends, those that we're inviting to the religion, we should ask them this question. Who is it that really feeds you? Who is it that really gives you to drink? Who is it? Is it Publix? Is it Kroger? Is it the farmer? Is it beautiful Mother Earth? Is it the sun? Is it the rain? Or is it Allah, the one who created all of the aforementioned things? It's a serious question. It will make people pause and think. So this was the method of our Father, making people take a moment to sit down and think. And he goes on and says, this Lord of the world, the one who creates me, the one who guides me, the one who gives me food, the one who gives me drink. When I get sick, it is he who heals me. The Lord of all the world, the Rabbil Alameen. So as a physician, I've been blessed to really witness firsthand the enormous healing power of the body itself. If I were to accidentally cut myself on the podium, the blood will start to clot up. It will eventually form a scab. The scab will eventually sometime peel off. And then some weeks later, I'll have brand new skin underneath. All without me doing a single thing. It does it on its own. So who is this Rabbil Alameen? When I get sick, it is he who heals me. Now, I also find that in medicine, the emphasis has become an emphasis on treating the physical ailments of people. If you have a broken bone, we'll put it in a cast, we'll fix it. If your knees are worn out, we'll give you brand new knees. Blood pressure's up, we can bring it down. Blood sugar's up, we can bring it down. Even in the field of psychiatry, the emphasis is more on what I find restoring balance to the brain. These chemical imbalances that we see that manifest themselves by the way of anxiety, depression, sometimes schizophrenia. The emphasis is on trying to restore what's normal, bringing it back to physical healing. So it has me questioning if the medical community has a focus more on the physical side of things, who's really doctoring on the abstract side of things? Who's really doctoring on the people's hearts? Who's really administering the real medicine for people's minds? And I can tell you that the medical community is not doing it. The professionals are not doing it. But the truth is, it was never meant to be a job for the professional class at all. This job was meant to be undertaken by the common people. Me and you, the common people. So our job as people of faith as healers, we have to learn how to wisely administer the real medicine, which is called Islam, Al-Islam. And we have to learn how to skillfully repair broken people, broken homes, broken families, broken communities. We've been blessed with so much. We have the antidote, the vaccine that's needed. And we have to, as people, common people, we have to take our rightful place as the real healers for this society, the real healers. And we can't fear the criticism of any criticizing. So I was talking, my daughter, she asked me a question last night. She said, what are you going to talk about tomorrow, Dad? I say, I want to talk to some extent about healing. How do we heal broken people? How do we heal broken families? And she looked at me. She looked at me square in the eye. She said, how do you heal broken people? So I shared with her, I said, in order to heal anybody, you first must come up with the right diagnosis. You first have to have the right assessment first. If you're coming in with shoulder pain and I diagnose you with a toe problem, I'll never be able to heal you. Why are people so broken? Diagnoses, heart disease. Why is family life dysfunctioning? Diagnoses, heart disease. Why is our society in such bad shape? Diagnoses, heart disease. Why would we elect somebody to the Supreme Court who potentially could have assaulted a woman? Why would we do that? Diagnoses, heart disease. Heart disease. So we know the problem. And the good thing is, we got the solution. It's called Al-Islam. And we have to administer the medicine. We have to administer the medicine. And we have to share this message with others. But the real question is, do you? I'm asking you a question. Do you really have the heart for this work? Do you have the heart for this work? Do you have that qalbun salim, that sound heart, to engage in this work? That good heart? Because that's really all it takes. It's just a good heart, a good sound heart, and we can start the medicinal process. So let's reason well so that we can obtain the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. ربنا يهدنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قال أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون أنتم وآباؤكم الأقدمون فإنه أدعوني إلا رحم العالمين الذي خلقني فهو يهدين والذي يطعمني ويسقين وإذا مرضت فهو يشفين والذي يميتني ثم يحييني والذي أطمع أن يغفر لخطيئتي يوم الدين ربي هب لي حكما والحقني بالصالحين واجعل لي لسان صدق في الآخرين واجعلني من ورثة جنات النعيم واغفر لي أبي إنه من الضالين ولا تخزني يوم يبعثون يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم.
Assalamu alaikum. The man mentioned something that I just wanted to